What? What did you just say?
My baker baked my bread out of dough. No, don't eat it though. It'll make you ill. There ain't no flour in a $100 bill. Hey everybody, welcome to Seriously Lighthearted Yoga.
Hello.
Today we're going to be talking about the diaphragm. We told you about this a couple days ago. We've been talking about the sort of types of muscles over the last few days, so if you don't remember those, please revisit those videos. But today we're talking about one muscle in particular, like I said, the diaphragm.
Yeah.
What are the particulars?
Yeah, guys. So we had gone over the three types of muscle, skeletal, cardiac, and smooth. The diaphragm happens to, most people kind of throw it into the skeletal muscle category, even though most of the time your diaphragm is kind of an involuntary muscle contraction. However, you can make it voluntary pretty much whenever you want. If you think about pulling that space under your ribs down and kind of pushing out your belly and then pulling it back in, that's kind of where and when and how your diaphragm is moving. There are a couple of breathing exercises that we did that kind of involve that diaphragm movement and some conscious control over it. And then there's also that stomach lift abdominal pump video that we did that also talks about kind of that movement of the diaphragm. But the muscle itself is kind of interesting because it's sort of convex, kind of rising up into your thoracic, your rib cavity here. And when it's up there, it's relaxed, and then as you inhale, it kind of contracts. So that's the contraction, is the inhale, and it lowers, and it actually begins to flatten out. So it's not so much of a cave, a little rounded bowl on the inside of your ribs anymore. It's much more flat, and it creates a bunch of space to bring your lungs down and open them up. And this is how we take air into our lungs. And then when we exhale, our diaphragm is relaxing and pushes that air back out. So that action is what's actually happening every time you inhale and exhale. Fun facts, just to think about. The diaphragm is never able to really get all the air out of your lungs. It always leaves just a little bit when people exhale to the point where they can't hold any more in. A lot of people have sometimes 16% of their lung capacity still full, or some people can get down to 10 or 8, but for the most part, you still have a fairly large percentage of your lungs being used and filled with air. You can't ever fully empty them. However, they will feel plenty empty. So taking that into consideration as well, know that the diaphragm is really just meant to keep it flowing and not necessarily to fill it up and empty it each time. We don't want to ever expand our lungs all the way. You can cause damage and tear things in there. If you do that, it's possible, and then you can actually cause problems too if you exhale too much. You notice that sometimes if you exhale too much, it becomes kind of hard to take that next inhale. Yep. It's like a little scary and hard to do. That's also maybe a little further than you'd like to go, and so a couple of things to keep in mind for your pranayama practice there, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
The diaphragm.
So when you guys are practicing your pranayama, just be aware of it, and you can feel everything that's going on in there. It seems it's something that we kind of take for granted because it is so involuntary most of the time. But you can certainly be aware of where the kind of the state that your lungs are in, and how empty you're making them, or how much you're potentially overfilling them. So just be aware of it and kind of proceed accordingly. So anyway, that's the diaphragm, guys. Give somebody a high five.
Diaphragm.
We'll see you guys tomorrow.